Welcome back to Vince PC Wabash. Here on Rockwood Roo19. We're going to do a little side trim gasket screw cover replacing today. I replaced this one on this side all the way up around the gutter, all the way down to here last year, because I was up there with my ladder putting on the gizmos and it cracked. So I put a piece of black tape over it to take care of the temporary problem. Got home, bought some 1-inch piece that goes in that channel and replaced it. What would be the driver's side, that one's held up well. Let me show you what you got to do to get into the thing. So I'll be back from my little giant ladder, which I love, 12-foot step ladder for him, and I bought it so I can get all the way up on my house in the extended ladder for him. And that is probably the most solid ladder, and I can take it inside and do my steps, change that to little chandelier that's on the steps, because you can, it articulates to all the different angles, so it's really cool. So anyways, let's get on top, or off to the side, but we're going to go up. Okay, I'm back up on the ladder. But when you look at this piece of plastic trim, or whatever you want to call it, that's a number 2. And I bought this 1101 by Milwaukee, and it has all the square bits that you need. So all you got to do is take it out. I used the plastic scraper, which you see behind me. Got that at Harbor Freight. The only thing I use when I'm doing any kind of gasket work to keep from digging in. And I've been looking at this piece of trim. Here's my gutter. Here's another piece of plastic trim. And then there's this strip of sealant right there that runs the length of the camper. I've been looking at it. I think I'm going to clean that up and get some non-sag, and we're going to do that too. Maybe not today because the weather's iffy, but we're going to get this strip took out. Alright, like I said, I got my little plastic scraper. Now I got down in the groove. I've got the screw took out of it now, and then all you got to do is pick up right here, give it a little wiggle, and that's how easy it comes out. As you can see, the exposed screws right there, and then we just peel it like a little banana straight down the front. Alright, it's coming down very nicely. It is a little hard, so they say to replace this stuff like every 3 years or so. I was able to wiggle this out. This was folded up behind the strip, so I had to take a little bit of caulk off here, a little bit of caulk off here, and these 2 screws right here, and I was able to get it loose enough where I could wiggle this out. But while I'm looking at it, all the screw heads are good. They're all clean, no rust. That's a good thing. But to ensure, we're going to put a little dab of RV Pro on each one of the little screw heads. Then I'm going to put the strip back over top of it. Then we're going to seal where I stripped off with a bit of RV Pro. Alright, I'm back. They sell this material in a 100-foot roll, and it has 2 little wings about 1/8 of an inch wide, and then there's a hump in the middle. Well, when you put it up in there, the little wings go in the track, the little hump goes up. So I'm going to look at this piece that we just pulled off. I'm going to get right there, give me a little mark, then start right here, find out how much we got that it took, And now I'm going to cut about 8 inches to get some room at the top. Okay, we're back at the corner. What I got to do is try to get this up underneath here. We're going to clean up the bottom a little bit with this plastic scraper, because that's where the area was. I got to try to get up in there. Once I start the process of sliding up in there, I'll bring it back. Alright, I'm going to try to start putting it up in there. So when you're doing this, you're going to want the round end facing inside, because when you fold it over, it'll be in the right position like we was talking about earlier. Alright, I've got it started. So we're basically just getting a little bit of space to work with, and now I've got it up in there plenty, back to where it was when it was started. So now I'm going to bring it back over, get everything centered up so it's hitting the channel as soon as we get going. We want it in the channel. So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start hitting these screws with some RV in the holes here where I took 1, 2, 3 out, and I'm going to shoot them full, then screw them in. Alright, I'm back. Like I said, I'm just going to put a little bit of RV stuff in these holes that I took them 3 screws out of. Then I'm just going to kind of coat the top of these screws like I did on the other side, because the little gasket will bend over and cover all that up, so that's cool. But you know, if the gasket does go bad and water gets behind here, it'll start rusting screws out and getting down in between the panels. Now everybody says RVs are junk, or do they make quality RVs? I'm glad you got a perfect one. My response to that fella was, mine is far from perfect. You buy RV, it's a labor of love. You either spend money to have it fixed, or you do a lot of stuff on your own. I take a lot of stuff on my own. I'm pretty handy. But, you know, they ain't going to do that at the factory, because that takes time. And time is money, right? So when you're doing it yourself, you can do a couple extra steps and help yourself out in the long run. Now if it springs a leak, at least these screws are sealed up. And I've got it started now. But you see this groove right there. And then there's another groove on the opposite side. All you got to do, this is such a simple job, is take it, pinch the roll. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but pinch the roll like I'm doing here, and then you can just feed it right into that channel as you come up. There we go. And all you got to do is just keep it in a steady pinch, and when it opens back up, it almost automatically goes right down into its little groove that it's supposed to be in. And as you can see, I'm able to get over. See what I'm talking about? I'll caulk this screw. That way if it does spring a leak, it won't get up behind here. And I did that all the way up till I couldn't reach no more. The roll costs, I don't know, $15, $20, 100-foot roll. And my camper's 25, maybe 18-foot body wise. So 18-foot strip across the top, 2 8-foot strips on the side. 100 foot is plenty to do this job. So I'm going to continue on. I'll meet you back up at the top. So ideally we want to hit that screw right there in the same spot. So that should be close. Is right there. Well, I'll put that little mark that I can see. One last pinch. Make sure everything is seated, which it is. And now, let's see if my spot is on. There we go, that felt like it made contact with what we want it to. And screwing down. So we're just gonna get it tightened down. Couldn't find my utility knife, but that'll work. Drop that down there, get it out of my way. Then we're gonna clean off the immediate area with some alcohol like everybody else does. And it's starting to rain on my head. It's just crazy. I've been waiting for the weather. That's called, no, that's my Pro RTV stuff. We got our die core. This is a non-sag because we're right at the edge of the building. So we're going to shoot some up in that hole. Then we're going to come along this seam. Come around that seam. Then we're going to cover up that quite nicely. Make sure nothing comes in from the back side. Here's the roof. So that ought to do it. All I gotta do is go down and seal up the bottom where I scraped it. That's gonna harden up nicely right there. And this seal's been replaced. Should be good for another 3 or 4 years. Alright, well, nice and simple. If you liked it, share and subscribe. That's for Rockwood Roo19. Later. Well, while I got all my tools packed up, before I put them up, I climbed back up the ladder to check it out. Non-sag looks perfect. Then I came back over here and sealed up around the corner up to about right there, across the bottom, and redid that whole seam. I said, well, while I got the caulk out, I might as well hit that. But the reason I was in so much of a rush, now this is the front of the camper. That piece of weather stripping covers up them holes. And then you come over here, and there's one on that side. Everybody says you're driving around in an earthquake. Yeah, that's true. We know that. But nobody ever says that hurricane that you're driving in. I drive down the road 65 miles an hour, and it's raining. All that water is beating on them 2 weather strips right there. And if they ain't sealed, cracked, or going bad, you might have an issue. So you gotta worry about that hurricane you just made for yourself. 65 mile an hour winds in a rainstorm, beating up against the front of your camper ain't nothing to sneeze at either. Alright, just wanted to add that in.